Greetings and salutations, my name is Deltran, doing Fire Emblem Heroes, talking about Tobin and how to turn him into a beast for PvP and for all those hard Infernal PvE maps. If you're looking for a build that's going to make him a bit better in defense, or if you're just looking for something nice and cheap to just put on him so you have a usable Tobin, I have some links for you, but first, let's get to the killage. First, let's talk about a Wo Dao build. I'm actually not too thrilled about this. He does have a decent win record here, but honestly he just does not have the stats in order to make this build something that you would want to actually do. The Wo Dao is expensive, Life and Death 3 is expensive, and when it comes down to it, he's not getting the same mileage out of it as other heroes would. You can definitely do this if you want to have a Tobin that's going to go ahead and wreck some things. He actually is pretty favorable on the draws that he has, but I honestly don't recommend this. But if you look here, at least against vanilla units, he's doing well. It is something that you can do, and if you want to just really invest in Tobin, then this is a good way to do it. So moving on, one of the problems that I have with Tobin is that he cannot take that many green units, and I think you noticed that before in the previous build that had Axebreaker, but when it comes down to it, a red unit needs to be able to check many green threats, and so by giving him a ruby sword, which is sort of unpopular in PvP, and keeping Axebreaker on him, he really does that job fairly well. You can see that he has 31 wins, 1 loss whenever he's fighting vanilla opponents, 25 and 8 whenever he's fighting a group that has Fury 3 as their A skills, and he just works rather well. He has a good defense, and he will cripple underneath any blue mage. They'll just wreck this poor guy, but otherwise he'll stand and deliver rather well. We've got reposition on him so that he can help out whenever he can't help out, and you can either go with Aether or Bonfire, depends on what your goal is. If you want to get higher scores in PvP Arena, and as we've already talked about in the previous video, he has a really nice base stat score, so if you go with that and Aether, you're going to do rather well. That and Spur Attack, or any Spur skill really, is going to help increase the number of points that you're going to get out of PvP fights. If you're worried about just turning him into something that'll actually hurt something, then you probably want to go with Bonfire. That works very well with his defense, and he's going to wreck things once that he gets that charged up. Alright, let's take a look at the obituaries. As you can see here, we have a good number of people that we are putting into the ground. Anna, Shersh, Narcian, Ninu, Legion, Jenny. I mean, there's a lot of people here that we're just happy to take care of. You also see Julia here, and the Spring Camilla, Vanilla Camilla. It's a good roster of people to be able to take care of, and so you'll definitely get good mileage out of him now that we have the Ruby Sword on him. Let's take a look at who we don't do well with. As you can see, there's a Wo Dao user right there. She just completely wrecks us, but I don't think Athena is going to be very popular in this meta for very long. Otherwise, I mean, we're not surprised to see here, it's all blue units. You definitely don't want to send Tobin after a bunch of blue units. It's just, you wouldn't do that anyway. Just keep them away from blue, and you should do rather well with this build, honestly. One final note for all of you at home: if you keep Armor Slayer on him, he has less wins, and it gets a little precarious in some situations because Armor Slayer is not a good all-purpose weapon, but this lets him check Hector, and as I've mentioned before, Hector is a threat that you need to have an answer for, and Tobin definitely takes care of that. If you want to run him with Armor Slayer, it'll be a cheaper build, it'll be easier to bring up, he'll still do well enough against green units. He's not going to kill that many of them anymore because he just doesn't have the follow-through power on that. But this is still a good build that's going to check a lot of good threats, and it's cheap, so that's a good news. If you want to try to give him some killing power while you're keeping that armor around, you can go with Killing Edge and then favor Bonfire over top of Aether, but you could always use Aether once again if you're just trying to get that higher PvP score. Sturdy Blow 2 is a little bit costly. You can go with Armored Blow if you're trying to really keep that armor up, or you can go back to Darting Blow if you're trying to make sure that he can double and deal a little bit more damage. Otherwise, this build is straightforward. You just want to try to get Bonfire off as often as possible. That's going to give him that extra attack power, and he'll be able to stay around long enough to be able to charge it. So that's not bad. Let's take a look at the obituaries. Well, that's easy. At least he can kill Ninu. Alright. There are a few people that we have to be wary of, and honestly, everybody here is blue except for a young Tiki. So this is not that bad of a matchup when it comes down to it. Looking at the heroes that do put us under, they're all strong. They're all very resilient, and they're able to do back and forth and duel. Those are things that you'd want to keep away from your heroes anyway, and only a couple of them you would find in PvP anyway. So I think that this build actually will do very well for you if you really want to get rid of Armor Slayer, or if you don't want to put a Ruby Sword on them. Killing Edge will give you the Killing Edge. Okay, I'll see myself out. Hey, do me a favor, if you're on mobile, rotate your phone into the portrait mode. If you're on desktop, hit escape to leave full screen mode, and click that like button if I've given you something to chew on. If you've missed some recent Fire Emblem Heroes goodness, click or tap on those links on the left, and if you want to get your information hot and fresh like Grandma's cookies, tap that subscribe button. My name is Deltran, I greatly appreciate all of you, and until next time, take it easy.